On this episode of SFA Now, we take you inside the esports lab that holds the SFA Esports team here on campus in the Student Center. We take a look at the team and talk to the president, along with some members as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of SFA Now.
Hello, and welcome to SFA Now. I'm Blake Hazard. With us, we have a special guest who is here to talk to us about the SFA Esports team. Today, we welcome Patrick Hollab. So Patrick, first tell us all, what is your role on the team?
So in the organization, I'm the media manager. So basically, I'll be running all of our medias from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, over to Twitch and YouTube as well. So I'll be creating all the graphics, I'll be posting videos and the like for exposure on our medias.
Okay, gotcha. So a pretty big role. And just tell us, tell us the summary of the SFA Esports team. Like, what is it comprised of? How many members? Like, what is the esports team?
So we recently separated into two different groups. We have our competitive players, or our more like privatized base of players and club members, and then we also have a community side of it. So that way family and friends can go ahead and join the community side of our esports organization, and they can interact with players and get to watch our games and stuff like that. And then on the club side, we recently started collecting dues. On the club side, we have our competitive players and people that can join in on events and stuff, use the lab and stuff like that.
Okay. And so, how did this all start? Like, how did the esports team reach SFA? Do you know how it started at SFA?
So about a year ago is when we held our first official meeting. That was pre-COVID. We held our first official meeting in person, and that was trying to gauge how much support the club would have. At that time, I didn't have any role in the club. I was just really interested in esports on campus. And they started building the lab, making progress on the lab, which looks phenomenal, by the way. They started making progress on the lab, and we started organizing how the club would be laid out, essentially. And that was about a year ago. So I say we have a pretty good infrastructure under ourselves right now, and we're just focusing more right now on growth of the club so we can get more people in and get more teams playing in different games and the like.
Okay, how many people do you have part of your team?
So for the community, we have around 330 in the Discord, and that's a light gauge because it's hard to tell how many people are active, how many people aren't active. As for the club only, like that consists of competitive players, we have about 40 to 50, I believe. So that it's gonna grow. I'm more excited to see how it grows when we start next semester, when a bunch of more freshmen come in, because we'll be getting a lot of our exposure out during that time period.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you still have a lot of people for only being like a year or
Yeah.
over. That's very impressive. So, like, who are y'all competing against? Is it other schools? Is it like
So, for the time being, it's mainly up to our team's coaches what kind of tournaments they want to play in. So let's say for Overwatch right now, we are competing in a collegiate tournament, and on Saturday we're going up against A&M for a game, which is going to be very fun. And then let's say for League, I think they are also doing a collegiate tournament. Our Rocket League team, they recently won the Southland Conference title for that tournament, which was really cool, brought in $1,000, our first collegiate championship win for the esports organization. So it's really just based upon where the coach wants to play and how they want to play.
okay. And so, is there a huge difference with like in-person tournaments and online? Like for especially with COVID, you can't really.
So back a year ago when we were starting out, we were in the talks of actually having like home and away stands where teams would travel to different schools to play them, have scrimmages against them and whatnot. Since COVID, it's been more remote based. We have to do everything online, and we haven't been able to use the lab how we exactly wanted. But it's not really going to stop us because we're still enjoying competing in tournaments and moving forward with the progression of teams.
Okay. And so, how is the preparation in coming to those games?
So it is, again, up to the coach how many times the teams want to practice, how many times they want to scrimmage other teams. And it's really based off of time frame because we do have to work around school and other organizations meetings and stuff like that. But normally, I know for Overwatch, since I'm on the Overwatch team, I know that we like to scrimmage at least twice a week, so we'll be playing other teams at our skill level to work on our coordination and our team play to see how we'll be able to compete in the upcoming games.
Okay, so how many hours would you be putting into those practices before a match?
So each practice for Overwatch lasts about 2 hours or 5 games, so that'll be about 4 hours per week. If we decide to do like video reviews and the lot, that'll take about an hour after games, because we'll just go straight into it after games since we're all right there, and that way we can analyze how we're doing and what we need to work on for the next games.
Okay, and so what makes the SFA Esports team different than other esports teams?
Right now, I feel like we're very new and we're eager to make a name for ourselves. A lot of other schools, Sam Houston, U of H, A&M, they already have esports programs that are a couple years old, so they have a lot of like base under them. So we're excited to see how much we can get to grow in the next year or two and see where esports goes for SFA.
For sure, I'm very excited to see how that'll turn out for y'all. So let's go inside the lab and find out more about this team.
Welcome to the SFA Esports Lab. Located inside the Student Center, this $50,000 lab includes brand new monitors, chairs, 3 TVs, and most importantly, a place for the team to work on their craft. But just like everything else in the world, COVID put a pause on that.
COVID has had an effect on a lot of things, including the esports lab. Even though they put money into the esports lab, the computers still haven't been set up yet. Because of COVID, the technicians, they've all been off campus and they weren't able to help set up these computers. And it's also meant that we can only have half capacity here in the lab, so we can only have 6 players playing at a time at the moment. But hopefully, COVID ends soon and that doesn't have to be a permanent thing.
With just over a year since the club started, the team has done a lot within their gaming community and plan on reaching higher goals.
All the teams, we have about like 40 or 50 players. Like the league team, I think a lot of them just run varsity teams, so like 7 players I think on the league team, 5 and 2 subs. And then we have an Overwatch team and a Rocket League team. And we're just still trying to build up some of our other teams like COD and CSGO. So we're still really working on it and building up those teams right now. I'm trying to get somewhere,
As a coach, I have to coach my team. I have to put together scrims, find scrims, and make our team win games, and make sure we're all working as a team.
Esports as a whole has rapidly taken over and is now being showcased all over the world in a big way. The team sees the big future in esports and are very excited to be a part of it.
Esports is growing real quick all over. Like, many schools are adopting esports teams and whatnot. And hopefully, eventually, I want to see this be a full-fledged program where people get scholarships for it and whatnot, and that'd be great to see.
I can see a huge future in esports, and it's such a profitable thing, and it's such an interesting thing, because when esports and like regular sports, esports is for the people who are not out there, and I think it's a really good community aspect for it.
It's clear on how important this sport is to the team, and their dedication is sure to take them to great lengths. Signing off from the lab.
So that is an amazing lab setup. I from that video, and I've even seen it walking by. I'm even pretty jealous of that setup. How much fun is it to be in that atmosphere?
So, unfortunately, the lab hasn't really been open due to COVID, and we're still working on getting the licensings for the games to players actually play on there. But we have been in the lab a couple times to mess around with stuff, set stuff up, and every time we go in there, we're just in awe. We have a blast when we're in there just because we're around this stuff. We can't get to use it yet, but we're around this stuff, so it's so much fun to just be able to look at and say, hey, I cannot wait to play here with the rest of my team. So.
For sure. It must be pretty exciting for when COVID ends, you can finally get to that lab.
Yes.
So for people who are a little unfamiliar with esports, how do you explain what esports truly is to the unknown?
So the easiest way to do that is esports is take a video game, take the competitive aspects of it, and basically make it into a sport. So it's basically all online kind of sports. So electronic sports would probably be the best way to say it, esports. But so it's the competitive aspect of a game that's going to be putting teams up against other teams to see how they compete. It's no different than football, baseball, anything like that. You will actually have drafting people You'll be moving people out. There'll be different rosters that come in. So there's different positions you can play. It's all very similar to sports, except it's just occurring online.
Okay, and so how could one join this team and get involved?
So the easiest way to join the Lumberjack Esports organization on campus right now would be able to get into contact with us on Instagram or Twitter at SFA Esports. As soon as you do that, send us a DM and I'll get in contact with you very quickly to get you signed up and part of the Discord to join the community.
All right, at SFA Esports, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And so how can video games, how can the esports team and help the community? Like how can video games help the community? Like does it help it like grow together? Like do you think there's a?
I definitely do think so. In the growing together aspect, as soon as you meet like another person that plays video games, you're already talking about, hey, what games do you play? Oh, you like that game? I love that game. And then you're just going to like this deep conversation that nobody else would have unless they played video games. So it's definitely a bonding experience to be able to play video games. And I'm excited to see how we'll be able to interact with the community in the coming future as well.
So what was the video game that influenced you the most?
Influenced me the most, I would probably have to say for competitive aspect-wise, definitely Overwatch, because I wasn't a huge competitive player until Overwatch came out. And then I kind of found my groove there. I love playing, I love the team play in the game and stuff like that. In a different aspect, I play an MMO called Destiny. That's definitely one of my other favorite games of all time. And it's cool to see how that community grows because everybody's so supportive of each other in that community. Like somebody across the United States you don't even know, but you end up playing with them every day. So it's cool to see that aspect of how video games works.
No, true. That is very exciting. And like in esports has gained a lot of popularity, and it's been on even ESPN. How do you feel about seeing like Overwatch on ESPN?
I think it's phenomenal. I'm so excited for esports to join like a global stage and be such a big presence, and it already is, and it just keeps growing. Like it's the revenue that they're gaining and how they're starting to form these tournaments is crazy. It's super cool.
Okay, yeah, no, I agree. It's an amazing advancement for esports and seeing it on ESPN. And so how, what is your goal for this club going forward, sort of for its future?
So with my remaining year here, I would like to see the club just expand, keep expanding. I want more teams to be formed. I want more players to join. I want people to interact with each other and see how many I want to see how many tournaments we can win. That would be cool. I just want to see more progression within the club, get a stronger infrastructure underneath us before I leave. That way it can keep growing into the future.
So what would be your favorite or the best part about esports in general?
I would definitely say just the community behind it. It's such a supportive community. Whether you're on opposing teams, everybody has one love, and that love is for the video game, even if you're competing against each other. And it's just a really fun time to get to know new people and to experience the competitive side of video games.
So where can people watch these games in the future?
So hopefully we will be getting our Twitch. We have our Twitch and YouTube set up at Lumberjack Esports, so hopefully we'll be getting that running soon. We're trying to figure out how we're going to go about that, but definitely catch us on Instagram for clips of videos and stuff like that, and catch us for YouTube videos on YouTube at Lumberjack Esports, and on the Twitch we will be trying to start live streaming soon at Lumberjack Esports.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. So, well, that's all the time we have for this episode. We want to thank Patrick for taking the time to be here. Be sure to follow them on all social medias, and thank you for watching. Have a nice day.